Carl and Damon here from Games, Brrraains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short. And it's they made what into a TV series as, yep, you've seen the title, we're combining episode 7 and episode 8 of The Last of Us. It is our Last of Us talk through. Combining 7 and 8 because we weren't able to do number 7 when it first came out. As the time of recording, episode 8 is now out and available to put an ultimate episode to see. But yeah, real life gets in the way. We couldn't find the time. In fact, it took me I didn't get to see episode 7 until about 4 days after it aired because of work. So I kind of had Damon going, oh, have you seen it? Have you seen it? And then telling me his opinion on it, which kind of then coloured my early opinion. Do that. Let me see the damn thing before you tell me whether you liked it or not. But so we are going to talk about episode 7 first, which is called Left Behind, directed by Lisa Johnson and written by Neil Druckmann. This episode specifically is flashback orientated, flashback specific to Ellie. Very completely specific to Ellie, with very little forward momentum, mainly to sort of show how she might make a decision regarding Joel more than anything else. It is a slow-moving episode. It's got nice elements. There are a few things wrong with it, personally, that I want to touch upon. One thing that annoyed me a little bit, I don't know if it annoyed you, but we'll get to that specific thing as well. But overall, I ended up still enjoying this episode. You know, I enjoyed elements of it in the sense that it's always nice to have a bit of peace and quiet. Proper peace and quiet, not peace and quiet as in we're hiding because someone's trying to kill us.
I disagree.
What you wanted? What action?
No, I suppose I blame the directors of this show. Yeah, I went into this episode because of how high the bar was set. For the previous 6 episodes, I went into this episode thinking, I can't wait. It's gonna be brilliant, top. And I texted you and I told you my opinion. I thought there was only maybe 5 good minutes, but I watched the episode again and I took it back. I think maybe there was 15 minutes I enjoyed. The other 35 minutes was, it was okay.
Well, what didn't you enjoy about it? What was the overall problem?
I just think that it kind of reminded me, they tried to do that episode of the love story again. Between, the two, obviously,
you thought it was quite similar.
Yeah, sort of similar to that, but it didn't compare at all. I thought there was no chemistry between both characters.
Oh, okay.
I thought they were trying to force having fun playing arcades together. I thought that was pretty bland. You know, I enjoyed obviously Mortal Kombat was pretty cool. You know, it was a nice little homage to a very old school game. Obviously, the fun part was obviously when the clicker came in. That was obviously fun.
Okay.
You know, but I just thought, and then obviously trying to force the whole lesbian scene. There's no need for it. You know.
Why do you think that was forced? I don't think that was forced. Ellie, in the game, and as a character already established, with a throwaway line earlier on, that was always going to be the case. I didn't think it was forced.
Not forced. Well, I suppose the better way to phrase it is,
you didn't feel it was earned?
I don't think it was needed.
Okay.
Because we've obviously heard nothing at all about this. So obviously it was all thrown in. This girl climbing through a window, so there's no real explanation about what sort of relationship they had.
But isn't this what this episode was for then? To give you that?
Yeah.
Because how else can they explain it? Which would you prefer? The show to tell you that relationship, where Ellie just sits down and then spends 5 minutes reading from a book, or for it to do an episode that shows you that relationship?
I suppose what I would have preferred, maybe instead of this girl disappearing to join the Fireflies or whatever, maybe they show them training together. Then she disappears and she leaves.
But I think that would have been slower.
You think so?
I think that would have been more boring.
It was a slow episode.
I think that would have really. I think because then you have to spread it across a longer period of time. Now I'm not disputing or debating or accusing you of having a wrong opinion. Of course not. I'm just intrigued as to why I thought, this is fine. For the most part, my issues aren't so much related to the story, because here's the thing: I was unfamiliar with this character, particularly as this is a character that appears in DLC for the first game, The Last of Us, the DLC being Left Behind. And in that game, she's portrayed by Yanni King. This is Riley, of course, and in the episode, Riley is portrayed as Storm, played by Storm Reed. Basically, Ellie's best friend at the military school where she stayed with Fedra during the post-apocalyptic Boston. I kind of get what you're saying. There's a little part of me that thinks they could have spent a little more time, right, in the school when compared to the amount of time in the shopping mall.
Yeah.
Because there was a point in the shopping mall where I was like, this is taking a while. Like this is taking a while. We've seen them play around on Mortal Kombat and so on, and you're still doing that.
Yep.
Like, move on to the next thing. Like that kind of thing. And I wasn't always as invested. Like, I wasn't glued to the screen as I normally am. I wasn't disliking it. And I don't know if I felt the same no chemistry thing. I thought they did to some degree. It did feel like being dropped into a pre-existing thing that we don't really and fully understand. Weirdly, the slowest part for me was leading up to the mall. On the roofs and that. I thought that was the slowest part, where I was like, okay, snap it. And there's a lot of this where I don't understand. No, you don't. That kind of thing. And then silent, and stuff like that maybe didn't quite do much for me.
Yeah, but it's like when they start putting on the masks and doing weird dancing and stuff like that. Again, I didn't get that at all. I thought it was just...
I got that. I thought my perspective of that was kids
having fun. But don't you think, again, and this is just my opinion, children raised in this post-apocalyptic world would have been taught you have to be quiet.
Yeah, but
you have to. I know.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
No,
I don't. Because quiet isn't. It's not like a quiet place where the creatures specifically work on noise and all that.
No,
but
no,
also, she's grown up in a scenario. She probably feels safer than anywhere else. The mall is apparently completely abandoned, which is when they get there and they find it and so on, and it is very much the case. And they're letting themselves loose. I thought that scene where you said with the masks and the dancing was the last hurrah, because ultimately by that point Ellie knows she's planning to leave.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So they're kind of letting themselves go for a moment, and I think that's something that I can buy into. And more, that's at least what I got.
Yeah.
But basically, that is the overall story taking place inside this mall as Ellie and Riley reconnect after Riley escaped or ran away from the military school. Ellie's having problems there, fighting with a girl and giving kind of one more chance by, I guess, a commanding officer.
Yeah.
But she sneaks out when Riley comes home, and they go to this mall, even though this mall is supposed to be closed because Fedra say it's filled with infected. It turns out it's not. They just closed it up and stuff like that. Riley here reveals that she's now joined the Fireflies. This is the stuff I loved in the episode. Riley, basically, the nuances of Ellie being defensive of Fedra, but Riley being defensive of the Fireflies, and both looking like they've joined a sort of cult.
Yeah.
Riley is the perfect example of someone that's been indoctrinated.
Yes.
In that basically she was told she had no future at Fedra. That caused her, and she got picked up by Fireflies who said, hey, we can give you a future, we can give you hope, we can give you reasons to go on.
Yeah.
And as it kind of turns out, but there's also this terrorist angle to them as well.
Yes.
There's a lot of that's a lot of good shit. That's really applicable to real life events that have existed over time, be it things like, say, the IRA, Taliban, stuff like that. All of that I can totally really buy into, and I really like that aspect. But there's a long journey to get that. Amongst this, we should say the episode is bookended by Ellie and Joel. Joel is looking like he's going to die.
Yes.
She's dragged him to a house in the basement. He's not in good shape. He even tells her to leave him because he thinks he's going to die. There's a lot of blood. And she does go to leave, because I really liked how they framed the flashback.
Yes.
Is she kind of goes upstairs looking like she's going to leave and puts her hands on the doorknob. And that's where we then go to the past. At the end of the episode, we actually see she's going to get medical supplies to help him and stuff like that, because she's not going to leave him.
No, of course not.
Because, of course, this is actually the story that she kind of hinted at earlier on in episode 1 or 2 it was, when she talks with Tess and all that, where she got bitten. Mm-hmm. This is where she got bitten inside the mall, which was a cool touch. That's kind of how we do that. So, the mall section. Let's just cover down one big overarching thing, because basically that's what it is. Riley takes Ellie here to have fun, to kind of reveal her plans, and as it turns out, hopefully recruit Ellie.
Yes, because from what I gathered, she's got bombs, so she's planning to blow the place up. Yeah, obviously, that's what
I don't
Ellie
think it's
do.
the mall. I think it's something else.
I'm guessing the federal place where Ellie is.
Well,
That's what Ellie presumes.
Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You may be right. It seems. No, I don't think know if Riley would agree to blow up school. Do you know what I mean? Like where kids are and stuff like that. I don't think it's necessarily that.
Yeah.
Because she's leaving as well. Bear in mind she's leaving. It seems like there's got supplies down there. She's planning to leave. But basically, there's a lot of fun stuff here. There's a lot of shops. There's a lot of product placement here in that sense. It is fun to sort of see a reverse version of these shops that we're probably familiar with, but from this post-apocalyptic. I did get, because of the lighting and the colours, Stranger Things vibe.
Yeah.
Did you get that from some of the colouring and stuff like that? Particularly when it came to like the arcade and things like that. And I know why it's Mortal Kombat 2. I know why. So let's not go like, but I thought like that was a bit like, nah, it'd be Mortal Kombat 3. Oh, Mortal Kombat 3 with all the players and stuff like that. But I can enjoy aspects of this. I'm going to bring up my issue then. So there's an infected in here, a clicker as it were, who wakes up after they make so much noise, having been. It seems like this is a fairly new thing where I guess a guy got infected and then sneaked in and then died, which is why Riley hadn't noticed him up to this point.
Yeah.
And about halfway through the episode, we see him sort of waking up on the wall. For me, it takes way too long for that thing to come into action. So after it wakes up, we basically don't see it until the end of the episode. Now, it's hard to sort of judge why and stuff like that. Maybe it was disorientated. We don't see it. Like, you feel like the amount of noise they're making, it should have found them quicker than it does. But it's kind of left right to the very end. And there was a point I even said to my wife while watching, I was like, where is it? Like, is it just staggering around lost somewhere? You know?
Yeah, no, it took way too long. You're talking, I mean, extra time, we're talking at least 20 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. And I think, like I said, I think a lot of people really like this episode. And I like it too. I just don't know if it's I don't know if I like it as much as everybody else does. I think everyone's still riding on a high of the series overall. That this little, not drop in quality, I don't want to say that. This little, okay, why have we slowed down now? Now, looking at the episode number, I realise, okay, we've got a penultimate episode of finale. We've slowed down because you can now. You can take your foot off the gas momentarily to then up it again.
I mean, let's face value. Out of every TV series, there's always going to be a few down. It's not going to be.
I don't think it's a down episode, though. I don't agree with you on that.
I mean,
you think you're right? So
the quality of the first 1 to 6, and then obviously then to this one here, it's gone from brilliant to great to okay, and then back to good again. Great, you know. It's not poor. Don't get it. It's not a poor episode because there's part of this episode I really enjoy. You know, and mainly towards the end. You know, but
do you think, right? Your issue is that you wanted an action. You wanted more infected. You wanted action stuff.
I was expecting. It wasn't so much infected because I do believe that the series has done brilliantly. The fact that it doesn't have to show the infected. To be great, which is amazing for a show about a killer infection. And we barely seen infected, really, apart from like one major episode. But I suppose my issue was that because the previous 6 have been such really good, I was on a major high, and then you turn it's like watching Star Wars. You watch Star Wars, brilliant, and then you watch the Last Jedi and all that, and it's like, okay, shit.
Come on, people. You can't compare. You can't do that.
Well,
also, Last Jedi doesn't deserve the hate it gets. It was imaginative, way more imaginative than the other.
Ray! Every 2 seconds, Ray!
Yeah, but
Ray!
No, I don't want to get a fucking track here, but there was more imagination used in The Last Jedi than there was in the last fucking one. The Return of the Emperor. Somehow the Emperor is returned. What? Anyway.
Yeah.
No, I get. Right, I don't think we're going to agree on this. I still think it was a good episode. I said I had my issues. And when it does finally kick off and they have to fight this infected, it ends up biting both Riley and Ellie. We kind of set things up nicely. But he also leaves things ambiguous there. Yeah. Even though you obviously know the fate of Riley and you know the fate of Ellie because of what happens. You don't have to see it. They just sort of sit there and so on.
Yep.
I didn't feel like the gay kiss was forced. because I could see it building. We already know Ellie, is gay or bisexual. I'm not entirely sure.
Yep.
I'm not too familiar with that aspect in the game, but she keeps looking at her, and you can see she wants to say something and so on, that kind of thing, but also she probably doesn't want to risk it because she doesn't know if Riley feels the same or is gay herself. So when it comes about, it does feel like, to me, like it was a moment, and it was a nice moment and stuff like that.
You can see you can see it, but between them both, obviously building up.
Yeah.
But for me,
didn't want it.
For me, there's no need for it.
Okay.
Not that I'm against that having.
Of course, obviously, Damon. We did a whole episode that was literally about one of the most best episodes of TV ever. About, so no one's gonna say that. Go back and watch our thoughts on that episode. That no one's thinking that. I think what I'm trying to unpack is, I guess I'm trying to look from a grander perspective of why it matters. I don't think it does either or. I think maybe you could argue that it's important because Ellie momentarily gives herself to this Riley.
Yes.
And in the end, it comes to nothing. Mm-hmm. Do you remember, we are building up a hardened, angry, furious Ellie, bitter, angry, and this ties into that as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, particularly as momentarily she's really happy. Riley agrees to stay as well. Yeah, and then it all goes to shit because of the infection.
That kissing scene wasn't my issue with the episode.
Of course.
My issue with the episode was, as you've already covered, it's very slow, too much building up to get to the mall, and then they play Mortal Kombat the first time. It's forced. Yeah, okay, it's fine. The characters, fatal deaths, fatalities, I say.
The fact that we're doing the fatalities, in fact, she teaches her to do a fatality on first go, and I was like, said to my wife, bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
There's the real bullshit in this episode.
And then they're like, oh, she'll play again. It's like, please don't play again.
No, that's the kind of stuff where I was like, oh, okay. And it was like, okay, we're going to go to another store, and here we go, that kind of thing. I do understand all of that. But, you know what I mean, it to me, it's like, if it's a small dip, maybe it's deeper for you, but...
Well, if we're doing a tier list, for me, this goes in the middle.
Okay.
It doesn't go in good and great.
Well, we've had not anything that goes below that, really.
No, of course not.
And as
I was saying, as I said, for me, the last 10, 15 minutes of the episode is what made this episode great, where the first was good. So I love the ending. I love the whole Ellie sewing Joe up. I thought it was really brilliant.
Yeah, it's a brief sort of finale scene as we kind of get that she's not going to give up on Joel. She comes back and starts to sew up finds needle and thread, luckily, and starts to sew him up,
And the way he's looking at her, and she's looking at him, you can see that he for me personally, including in episode 8, he looks at her as a daughter now.
See, I didn't get that. I got more like you've not left, like you've not given up, that kind of thing. Why are you doing this? That kind of thing, more than anything else. Which brings us to episode 8, which is episode number 8, When We Are in Need, directed by Ali Abbasi and written by Craig Mazin. This might be up there as one of my favourite episodes of the entire show. This is up there, man. I was on the edge of my seat constantly. I love the fucking villain. What a layered, clever, never openly saying the things he does, but implying them in such a wicked way. And utilising religion and tying that into it, but also giving us a little bit of hope and moving things on. This is maybe Bella Ramsey's best episode. This is some good shit here. And I said to my wife, and in the end I said, my God, what people must think in this world of Joel and Ellie.
Yes.
They are pure destruction. They are destruction. They come, they destroy. And I know they're forced to. And I know the events force their hands. And if they would just be left alone, this wouldn't be the case. But when called upon, they are horror. They're demons almost,
Very much, yeah. Yeah, so for me, when I first saw the opening scene of this episode, I thought that this geezer's going to pull out some pills and everyone's going to take them and they're all going to commit suicide.
I felt like it was a bit suicide-y, culty as well. But the biggest thing I got is, without saying a word, looking at the faces of the people and their body types and their hair and all that, you were like, they're starving.
Yes.
Like, that was a thing. I was like, they're starving. And then my next thought was like, oh, what do people turn to when they're starving?
Yes.
That's a worry.
Yeah, that's why I thought that this is like bloody old cannibalism and stuff like that. They're going to start eating people and stuff like that.
Yeah, I kind of figured that's the direction we were going in. Of course, if you're familiar with the game, you would, of course, know that this is very much the case. We will quickly touch upon the new characters. Scott Shepherd plays David, who is the leader of this cannibalistic cult, if you want. A preacher. He's brilliant. One of the best things I've seen in the show to date. In the first game, David was actually played by Nolan North. And just as important, Troy Baker plays James, which is a senior member of the group of settlers. And this is important because who does Troy Baker play in the game?
I don't know who he plays, but I did read something like that he voices the character, does he?
Yeah. Well, he voices and plays the character in motion capture.
Yeah.
Joel.
Oh,
Troy Baker is Joel.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah. Well, James was played by Ruben Langdon in the first game. So yeah, this story is, if you were maybe in episode 7 feeling a bit like, oh, where's the forward momentum and I want to move on, we get plenty of it here, particularly as Joel now, unsurprisingly, is succumbing to infection.
Yes.
His wound is nasty looking. Ellie really doesn't know what to do and they need food. So Ellie has no choice but to go out and hunt. She does actually manage to kill a deer, but that deer is wounded and then collapses further along, where it's found by David and what's his name, James, who Ellie ends up accosting and holding at gunpoint. The conversation here is brilliant.
Oh yes.
David comes across so calm and so relaxed and so like, just friendly.
Proper villain, but
at first I wasn't sure. Because even at the beginning when we were introduced to his group, I just see a group of desperate, starving people that have turned to God.
I saw that too, but I also saw that they were scared of him. For me, I saw fear, man.
I saw God fearing. I basically got a little bit of Children of the Corn vibes here. In the sense that he's the, God speaks through me and only me thing going on. That, aspect. These characters aren't new in fiction and horror and stuff like that, so it's not that unbelievable. But his calm demeanour and the way he speaks, he almost puts you at ease. You could see why people would follow him.
Yes.
It really would. But David is so reasonable and he even offers, look, we're hungry, we're starving, you can join us. Ellie's very, obviously, nervous and not friendly in any way, shape or form, but agrees to give them half the deer if James goes and gets some penicillin, which David sends James off to do. And he's like, look, let's go inside here, we'll build a fire, you can keep a gun on me, all that kind of thing, and we can talk. And that's what happens. And in there, they talk for a little bit, and she starts to relax just slightly until David reveals that he knows who she is. Basically, he sent 4 men off to find food. One of them didn't come back. And that penny drop moment.
Yes.
As I stopped and said to my wife, I was like, oh shit.
That's the 4 guys.
That's the 4 guys. That's the guy that Joel got into a fight with, killed and got stabbed by in episode number 6.
Yep. Very clever.
Very, very clever. And reveals that James now has Ellie at gunpoint. But David tells him no, lower your gun and all that, and even agrees happily and gives Ellie the penicillin and says look, join up with us, that kind of thing. That you won't survive out here alone. But Ellie takes the medicine and runs. James is obviously wondering kind of what's going on, that kind of thing. But David's like, look, we'll deal with this later. Let's get back. We've got the deer. Let's get back to the people and so on. Basically, he's going to promise them vengeance in the sense that he wants Ellie to join up with them, but they want blood because of what Joel did to their friend. So look, in the next day, go out and find them, follow her tracks. Should be easy to find because I doubt Ellie would have been good at covering her tracks.
Yes.
Find them and kill the man, but take her alive.
For me, the first 15 minutes or so in this episode, it also shows Ellie's vulnerability too. Because for me, Joel kills both of them. For me, if he's telling them to leave, put your guns down and leave, and they're talking to him, he pulls the trigger.
I think Joel would have given them a chance because we saw him give people a chance in the previous episode. He would have given them a chance, but I think he would have given them a chance. I think. Which weird because he has to revert almost to an old version of Joel we haven't seen quite yet at the end of the episode.
Yes.
Because they've now put him in a situation where he has no choice but to act this way because of it. So yeah, the overarching story is they do end up tracking Ellie. Joel, too hurt to move, tries to lead them away on a horse, but they end up capturing her and she's taken back to David's base. While the rest of the men search for Joel. Joel having had several injections of penicillin. Now, I could see people being a bit like, oh my god, why is he okay? Or why did the penicillin take hold so quick and stuff like that. I don't think anyone's saying he's okay. He's clearly not. He's weak, he's hurt, he's still damaged. But also he had direct penicillin injections into a wound.
But
it's quite different than taking a pill.
He's also a survivor.
He's a survivor.
He's done this many times.
Yeah, this is a fight or die situation for him. One ends up coming in a house, finds Joel's bloody bed, but Joel is able to get the jump on him and kill him. Love this death. I think this is really, really realistic and really horrible because like the dude gets stabbed in the neck and it's not like in the James Bond movies where it's just like quiet and instant. He dies suffering and looking at Joel as well.
And they're both just staring at each other, man. It's
pretty horrible. It takes a good 10 seconds and you're like, yeah, that's a bit more real.
Yes.
Yeah, like I really liked that as well. And then Joel ends up taking the other two captive as well. So now we kind of split between scenes where Joel is, and I don't even want to say the word interrogates, because it's not an interrogation.
Oh, no.
The two men to find out where they've taken Ellie, and Ellie is being interrogated by David, who has her in a sort of cage area as well. Now, we do at times cut back to the cult, where meat is revealed, and guy says it's venison. Yeah. And I said to Lou, oh, so David and Bet are back with the deer. And then later, when we see them all sitting down to eat, they come in with the deer. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's not fucking deer, is it? That's not deer, is it?
At first,
you thought maybe there'd some stocks left over?
I thought it might have been a horse.
The horse, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Well, the horse would be used later.
Yeah, but then I thought, nah, they've cooked some of that one.
Well, they do make it quite clear what it is, because David does reveal to Ellie that, look, Ellie sees an ear. And David kind of like, yeah, like, we kind of had no choice. And later, Joel will find their storeroom with bodies hanging up.
Do you think that at the start of the episode, you got to go crying about her father?
I think the father is food.
Yeah, we won't bury him until the summer.
Until the ground's not hard enough. I think that's literally what's happened. Yeah. I think that is very much the case. Absolutely. But we should say that dinner scene, we get the real scariness of David when he slaps her down, but then picks up and comforts her and stuff like that.
The power and the villain power.
Yeah, it's just that, but he does say that to Ellie, and I do love this nuance where he talks to Ellie about how he's almost disgusted with them, because in the end times, they don't have the strength to carry on unless they have something to hold on to, which is God. And I completely understand that. It's pathetic to a degree.
Yes.
That whole like, oh my God, the only thing that's keeping us going is God. So he utilises that. But he's become impressed by Ellie. He admires Ellie. And he wants Ellie to join up with him because she survives because she's strong, And here you get the nuances, the sort of, oh, are you a diddler? Because you're kind of acting like one here and so on. Ellie sort of plays along, but my God, I love her in this.
Yes.
She fucks him up so many times, man. They thoroughly underestimate who they're dealing with here. Yeah, they really do. And he gets first his finger broken and he gets his face smashed in. When she does break free, they're going to cut her up on the table, James and David. And again, they underestimate her. She fights them and she fucking kills James with a straight machete or a hatchet to the neck. It's brutal. But you're clapping along because fuck you, you're getting what you deserve. Even though I know you're desperate, she says he says about what choice you have. You always have a choice. Yep. And I know starving to death is not the case, but eating people is just something. Yeah. You've made it. You've crossed a line, and it's a line plus like there's the argument where he hasn't told his people what they're eating.
Yeah.
Where the fuck do they think they're getting the food from?
God.
You know what I mean? God provides.
Yes.
That's not true. What you are is you're lying to yourself to kind of make yourself okay with it. That aspect. So, I don't have much sympathy in that regard. So it isn't kind of nice to sort of see this brutalization. And then, of course, the bit from the game where the facility goes on fire and David's hunting her and talking a lot of shit and she's sneaking around, leading to her getting the jump on him and killing him. Love this scene.
Yes.
It's tense, it's scary. He's very villainous. When he gets on top of her, he lets all subtly drop to reveal that he's gonna rape her.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah,
He literally, I enjoy when they fight.
I know.
Basically, there's not very nuanced about that.
It also pins out that he's done it before. He enjoys when they fight, so it's not the first time he's done it.
Of course, 100%. It's literally who he is. He's a fucking villain, a nasty piece of work who gets his as Ellie beats him to death, like hatchets him to fucking death.
I know.
Why are you laughing?
Because he's such a fucking idiot. Seriously, you would have thought after breaking his finger, then fucking
stabs him in the shoulder, in the side,
kills his friend, and now he's still
because
taking a
in their heads, right, in their fucking heads, they cannot understand or believe that this girl, he keeps saying to her, you can't survive.
I know.
She's fucking survived better than you
Exactly.
have, like that kind of thing. But we should say, meanwhile, we get what is some of my favourite scenes purely because of the brutality. Joel, as I say, interrogates the two, but this ain't interrogation. He has them both tied up, and he isn't kind.
No.
He's not kind. He reverts to a level of brutality, stabs the guy in the knee, and threatens to rip it off, like pull his knife out, so kneecaps him if he doesn't point it out. But also does that thing where he's like, puts the knife in the guy's mouth, pointing at the map, and then says, he better tell me the same one. And then directly stabs the guy to death afterwards. And like the other guy's like, I ain't lying. And Joel's like, yeah, I know. Like, I know he wasn't lying. Like that. And then there's no matter, and then just kills this guy as well.
Yeah, so
it's so brutal. It's so matter of fact. It's almost villainous.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't give them a chance. But we see why he reverts to this is because he feels like he's got no choice because they took Ellie hostage or captive.
Yeah, it's like
they took his child.
It's kind of, that's actually it's like he's fighting for his daughter again. You know, and obviously he couldn't save his daughter, and he wants to save Ellie.
Yeah, particularly after Ellie basically saved him. He's only alive now because of this. I loved it. I thought it was so brutal, and like the combination of, think about these survivors now, the ones that are going to have survived in this cult, right? What they already think of Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
And now David's dead. James is dead. The other men are dead.
Yeah.
The community building is on fire. They're all probably going to die of starvation.
Yes. Yeah,
because they followed David. They're going to see it with him being killed. They're going to lose their faith in God, or they're going to revert to an even more insane version of that and probably just die.
Yep.
But what you're going to think of these two people? I was just like, what destruction? Like the devil was sent, like was sent to destroy them almost. Because as well, like the burning building, and Ellie breaks out. She's traumatized by what's just occurred, but Joel finds her and he calms her down.
What I thought was going to happen was that she's going to burst out of the building. Everyone's going to be standing there.
I thought they were going to do it as well, but I think this building might have been separate to everything else because we don't see anyone else again at this stage. And that's how the episode ends, with Joel comforting her, and they kind of back to the sort of status quo of him looking after her at this stage, and that's where the episode ends. Fucking brilliant! Brilliant stuff.
I love the ending because she's covered in blood, and she thought she's being grabbed by something else.
Yeah, because she goes to fight.
Again, this is what I said earlier about they now see each other like five.
I think we've got to that stage. Yes, I think we've got to that stage, of course. Particularly as, like I said, him being out couldn't protect her, and now he's finding her bloodied coming out of the burning building, and you can see look at his face. He's like, "What's happened?"
Yep.
But like he knows she's fought to survive. What he's had to do, she's basically a younger version of what he's done as well. Yeah. But the way this story is told, the tension in this, the villain in this, the acting by everyone, I loved it. As I said, I think this is Bella Ramsey's best performance. I love how tough she is. I love how nasty she is, how brutal she is, how, violent she is towards David, but giving someone who deserves it. It's not like he doesn't deserve everything he gets in this as well. Yep. But he is fucking brilliant. He is brilliant. Scott Shepherd, he might be my favourite villain we've had in it so far. I know we haven't had loads in regards to that, but he might be my favourite of the sort of nastier side of this.
Definitely.
It's his calm demeanour. It's the way he talks. He's a real dangerous piece of shit. Yep. And I really enjoyed seeing him get his.
And again, it's another episode without the infected.
Yep, 100%.
It's brilliant.
Yes, and that brings us to one more. Next week, we will have one more to go, and it is, of course, the finale. What are you expecting in it? Let's say you don't know the game and stuff like that. What would you think most people are expecting?
For me, I'm expecting that they're going to arrive to where these people are, and it's going to be. I'm hoping it's going to be overrun.
I think it's an infected heavy one. I think that's. I do agree.
That's what I think.
I think that's where we're heading. Of course, I think it's particularly as its finale, and we want to set up end season 1 strongly, but you also want to hopefully set up aspects of season 2.
Yep.
Can't wait, really.
Yep.
Don't know about you.
Yep.
Can't wait. Yeah, it's gonna be sad to see it done. Particularly in this, as we covered 7 and 8 in one, and it was different. 2 very different episodes, but when you put them, as the overarching story, I do think when we watch, if you would have watched the whole season back to back once it's done, you might see things a bit differently and enjoy the flows and the ebbs a bit differently than having to wait week by week, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the problem why you didn't enjoy episode 7 so much.
It's possible, because obviously I don't watch Halo. Obviously, you watched it when it first came out, didn't you?
No.
I didn't. No. So obviously, I watched the entire season initially in one hit.
Yep.
Episode. I didn't have to wait a week or 2 weeks or whatever. So I think I probably enjoyed that more than having to wait week by week by week. So I do believe. Obviously,
it does hurt your enjoyment.
I'm watching The Mandalorian now, so obviously I'm getting to watch all season 1, 2, and 1 and 2.
1 and 2,
all together before I start season 3. And I know obviously I have to wait for season 3, but I think watching it all together, it makes more sense.
Yeah. I mean, I get that, but there's no way around it. It's tough, really. That's episode 7 and 8 of The Last of Us. You got any thoughts on what we've talked about here? You got any thoughts on 7 or 8? You know what to do. Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?